Hey folks, welcome to the Cigar Fellowship. I'm Johnny Nova, and today we're going to break down and I'm going to try to educate you a little bit about HVC's LaDecoration. HVC is a boutique company, small batch company, owned by a guy named Reinier Lorenzo. And I had the pleasure of meeting the guy, and we'll get into that a little bit later. I'll tell you about our conversations and his take on blending tobacco and his business practices, or some of them anyway. But let's talk about the cigar, LaDecoration. It was released at PCA 2026, and it came out April 2026. So it's fairly new, right? We're in July. Well, we're in August, wow. It is hot as balls out here right now, man. Oh, but I'm not complaining. I'd rather be sweating my balls off than freezing my balls off any day. Anyway, this cigar, HVC's LaDecoration. So the wrapper, Ecuadorian Habano 2000. And the binder, it's not specific. It just says Nicaraguan binder. And the fillers are Nicaraguan Jalapa and Nicaraguan from Esteli. And also Pelo de Oro, Peruvian Pelo de Oro. Regular production cigar, 4 different sizes, but their sizes are a little off. It goes from, he made them big. He made them like for Texas, right? They're Texas sizes. Like his Robusto is 6.5 by 54. It's pretty big. It's a pretty hefty Robusto, and that's the one I'm going to smoke with you guys today. I smoked all the different Vitolas over the last like month or so, month and a half. His factory, he does have a factory in Nicaragua, in Esteli, Fabrica de Tabaco, HVC, Havana City. That's what HVC stands for. And this is a medium strength cigar. I would say maybe a medium plus, because it's got some kick to it, fantastic flavor. Let me just show you this cigar real quick. So as you can see, you've got a dark brown, well, medium brown wrapper. It's a medium brown color wrapper. Sun's just going down now. It's cooling off a little tiny bit. I like the band. I like the cream color on it, right? And it's almost like a navy peacoat blue on the footband as well. Right, very, very attractive looking cigar. I really like those colors on it. Soft box press, right? Not harsh, soft box press. Triple cap, obviously, in the Cuban style. And now we're going to talk that because he's big on his Cuban heritage and staying true to that. And if I squeeze it, barely spring to it, but very light cigar, nicely packed. You can see scrunged and layered very nicely in there. Look at that. Really nice, right? But also, you know, it's big for a Robusto. Look at that ring gauge. It's fat. It's their Robustos are, I think, what I say, 6 by 54. So it's pretty big for a Robusto. I'm gonna do a V cut on this. First, let's get rid of our, see if it comes off easy. Yep, won't need that no more. All right, let's do our V cut like I always do. See what we got here. Wow, got big fat that ring gauge is. Can barely get it in there. I have that problem all the time. All right. Open, clear open draw. Picking up a little sweetness, a little like kind of fruity on the cold draw. If you smell the wrapper, I'm getting like a barnyard and like a tangy type peppery flavor off the wrapper. But let's light it up and see what we got, right? So we'll take our time with the wrapper and let's talk about the cigar a little bit while I'm doing that. So I know in advance, because I smoked a few of these, and that's how I do things. I'm not a professional reviewer, I never claim to be. I'm a regular guy that's a little bit of a cigar nerd, and I talk about the cigar, and I tell you, on that cold draw, I'm already tasting pepper on my tongue. And that's not the power of suggestion, that's real. I'm not imagining that. But I will tell you that pepper is dominant in these cigars because I've smoked all the different Vitolas. I bought this box, beautiful box when I met the guy, just a small box, and it had 4 of them in there, 1 of each Vitola, and they were, you know, same blend, different sizes, and they were all very peppery. They were interesting, not in a bad way. I like them, you know. So I'm just gonna toast this bad boy up, and it's a fat ring gauge, so it's gonna take a little bit. So this company, this guy was born and raised in Havana City, Cuba. Very proud of his Cuban heritage. Went to medical school. I think he was going to be think I saw in an interview, I read somebody's gonna be like a vet, maybe? Anyway, he decides that even though he doesn't ever have any family really involved, immediate family involved in the tobacco business, he's fascinated by tobacco, he loves tobacco, and he wants to get into the tobacco business. So in 2011, he founded this company, HVC. That's a big boy. So, and HVC stands for Havana City, right? And his focus is two major things, right? So paying homage to his Cuban roots and the Cuban style of tobacco making, the process, and also flavor. In his mind, everything else can be fixed, right? Just do it the right way, roll it the Cuban style, the original way, and make sure the flavor is there, and everything else can be fixed, right? You could fix your business, you could fix the construction of a cigar, you could fix those things, but if the flavor is not there, what's the point? That's his whole mantra, right? And tradition. Delicious. Yeah, so he's all about blending, tasting, and he's more about quality over quantity. So if the cigar's not ready, he's not putting it out. Most of his stuff, most of the tobacco is sourced from Nicaragua. He will throw other stuff in here, like for example, there's Peruvian tobacco in here. You probably heard, I already mentioned the La Rosa 520, the Pan Caliente, and a lot of these cigars are sold out. If you go on the website, like I can't find the La Rosa 520 on the website, they're sold out. You can't find them, right? You try to go to these different companies, they're all sold out. You can't get them. Hotcakes, sold out. You can't find them anywhere. And his, he explains it this way, it's all about a recipe, right? And bear with me, I want to tell you about this. I'm going to get into the first third, the second third, the last third as I'm smoking this with you. Obviously, I'm not going to smoke the whole thing, but I'm going to give you my thirds. But his thing is all about, the recipe. So right now, people are banging down his doors to get more cigars. And he's got 8 rollers, and he can't make them that fast. Believe me, he wants your money, right? He doesn't want to turn down your money. He wants the money. He's just not going to sacrifice, the quality just to get the money. And people were busting his chops to get a Lancero out before Father's Day, and he couldn't pull it off, right? Listen, let's take this cigar for example, right? So we know that this is Ecuadorian Habano 2000 wrapper, right? Can he get that wrapper? 100% he can get that wrapper. Can he get the 3 different tobaccos, the Jalapa, the Esteli, and the Pelo de Oro from Peru? Can he get that? Yeah, he could get it. He can get the Nicaraguan binder. But just because he has all that and he puts it together doesn't mean it's going to taste the same. So the way he explained it to me was that let's say we're talking about the Habano 2000 wrapper. He's got to look at that pylon. He's got to go to that factory or wherever they're housing all this tobaccos, and he's got to look at it, he's got to feel it, he's got to touch it, he's got to smell it, he's got to roll a piece of it, he's got to smoke it and taste it before he can decide. He's got to replicate what we fucking bought or that flew off the shelves. He's got to replicate that, because if he just puts the same concoction together and puts it out there, we're not going to buy it again, or we're going to be like, it's going to be like the Amazon basin, right? It's going to vary from year to year. 2024 was great, but the 25 and 26 wasn't so good. Now we got to let those rest in our humidor for 2 or 3 or 4 years before we could smoke them. He doesn't want any of that stuff. He wants to nail it just like he did it the first time, so that when you light that up, if you have a box that you bought 4 years ago and you buy a box now, you shouldn't be able to tell the difference. In his mind, that's what he's shooting for. So he's going to wait. He may buy it and he'd be like, we got to look at that in a month. We're going to look at that in 6 weeks. We're going to look at that in 4 months. We'll check it out. So he's got all these combination of tobaccos in his recipe, but it's also time, right? He's got to wait, and he's got to take his time, and he's got to get the right, everything's got to be right before he puts it together and he goes to the rollers. Go, start busting these things out, man. We need to get these out. So, and I respect that, right? Because a lot of places, they want the money grab. They want to grab the money, of course. It's a big company and they could do that, right? Because they've been around forever, and they've got certain cigars that people are just, basically addicted to. They're just going to keep smoking the same cigar over and over again. So they can afford to come out with a limited edition or a new cigar, and then the next year just replicate whatever the tobacco profile was and throw it out there. I'm not saying they do that, but I'm sure it's been done. We've all smoked cigars that have been underwhelming. So he doesn't want to do that. And the reason I know that so well is from seeing him being interviewed and also talking to the guy. He just showed up, man. He was at a lounge. I'm in Long Island, New York. He was at a lounge in like Garden City, the Polo Cigar Club, this Polo Cigar Lounge. And the manager there, Susanna, she sent out an email, and they were like, let us know if you're coming, because they were afraid it was going to be real crowded. At the end of the day, there was like not even half a dozen people who knew who he was. They were just guys going to the lounge. The World Cup was on, and he was there by himself. He would just, he went with his sales rep. He's like, oh, fuck it, I'm going to come. I'll make some Cuban coffee and I'll talk to people. So I was talking to the guy intermittently for like 3 hours. I didn't talk to him for 3 hours straight, but 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 10 minutes there. Me and Susanna spoke with him separately. together, like on a few different occasions. And what a nice, warm guy. Put his arm around you. He made me a Cuban coffee. We were bullshitting, not just about the cigars, but about the World Cup, about his family. He lives in Miami. Just a nice guy. But we did get into cigars. Because I was asking him. I'm like, hey man, what do you do? You're the man. When you're gone, if you're in Miami, or if you're in DR, or wherever or somewhere else, or you're in Nicaragua, when you're away from the factory in Nicaragua, who's El Jefe? Who's fucking watching? When the cat's away, right? You know what he did? He got a friend of his, a childhood friend that he grew up with, and he brought him over here from Cuba legally a while ago. The guy didn't know anything about tobacco, and he taught the guy everything there is to know about tobacco. His way. All that guy knows is what he wants. It's like they have the same brain. He trained that guy to say, this is what it has to smell like, this is what it has to taste like, this is what it has to look like. So now he's got a guy that can, when he's not around, that's got his same frame of mind, and a guy that he could trust. And that's very important in any business, right? So we'll get into this cigar. I'm gonna break it down for you now. That was my little spiel about my little starstruck meeting with Reinier Lorenzo. Really nice guy. I'll put in some pictures. He took some pictures. He was taking pictures with everybody. Nice guy. So first third, second third, last thirds. I'll get into it honestly. So the pepper was very dominant throughout all of these cigars. My initial flavor on light up, and I know it's repetitive, but I have to be honest with you guys. I don't just like puff the cigar and like this comes to my head. Like I sit with it with my notes. I'm like initial flavor and I write it down. Like I have 1, 2, 3, I've got like 12 bullet points for each third. And I write down and I scrutinize the cigar, after I've smoked it a few times. That's how I do it. Chocolate and clove. I feel like some kind of cloves. That's what I get on the initial flavor from just about all the cigars. Dominant would be the chocolate, very chocolatey. It's still in my mouth right now, and we just lit this thing up. I feel like this is a very complex cigar. There's a lot of shit going on, probably stuff I'm missing completely, but it's a lot to sort out. There's a lot of stuff going on, and you have to like seek through, which I'm going to get to, that pepper. So it's slightly dry in the beginning, mouthfeel, I would say, on the smoke. Starts off, medium with a pop. Medium with a pop. The retro hair is pepper right now. Right now, all I'm getting on a retro, and like in the beginning, till it starts burning a little bit more merrily, is pepper. Right, short finish is bitter chocolate and espresso. That stands true. Long finish. I'm gonna let it rest on my palate for a little bit. And bitter cedar and pepper is resting on my tongue. Smoke output, as you can see, is full, and no nicotine in the beginning. There was probably, I'll go through the thirds. At the end of the cigars, probably I would say medium. I would give it like on a scale, I would give it like a medium on a nicotine. Nothing too crazy. And the draw and the burn was always good. This one also had a flaky ash. I've been saying that a lot lately. Some ashes are a little thicker and more dense. The last few cigars, maybe it's the weather. Like I said, it's very warm and humid, but so the ash is a little flaky. I'm going into the second third. These are my notes. Enjoy this with you. Very nice. So the cloves lightened up a little bit, and they turned more into like a cardamom, and there was an increase in the pepper. It's ramping up, it's getting stronger. And for a new flavor, I would say that cardamom replacing that cloves. And you're asking, how does he know this? Because I like that stuff. I put it in my water and stuff. I put it in my iced teas. Like I drop, cardamom balls in the iced tea, and I use cloves sometimes, so I do know. Definitely a full-bodied cigar. And on the retrohale, pepper and spice. Bitter chocolate espresso on the sides of the tongue. For the short finish, creamy and cedar. And earth. Earth is coming through. Long finish, pepper, cedar, and that cardamom is there. And the smoke texture, not today, but the other ones that I smoked out of this box, it was a very full, thick smoke texture. Okay, right now it's very humid. You can't judge it by that. Still burning, very nice. Very clear, right? Straight. Even though it's humid, this thing is burning beautifully. Good construction, and at this point, I'm going to say it's probably like a mid to mild nicotine hit. Again, I'm just starting this cigar and I'm going into the last third. But you guys know how I do things by now, right? I'm not going to fade the camera in and out. I could, but I'm not a pro like that. Maybe after 25 or 30 videos, I'll be able to do that. I'm also not a tobaccoist, so I have to sit down and really think about it and scrutinize it and choose my words, wisely, so I can convey to you guys as best I can what I'm picking up from the cigar. So going into the final third, it was much more cedar. The cedar was coming forward a little bit more, and I hate the word baking spices. That's why I try to be specific with the cardamom and the cloves. White pepper. This is a white pepper, so it's not burning, but it's laying on my tongue, man. It's there. It's staying on my tongue, but it's not burning me. It's not annoying me. That's just the cigar. That's what it is. And to go along with the baking spice theme, a tad of vanilla. Not like vanilla extract, more like vanilla bean. Coming up through my palate, through my nose. Not necessarily when the smoke is there, when the smoke is gone. Kind of like emanating up there. I would say the coffee espresso kind of backed off a little bit. It took second place to the chocolate and the pepper, which is just barely not overpowering, in my opinion. The pepper is good, but it's almost to the point where it could be too much. It's not though. On the retro, pepper's calmer, right? After you get the cigar going, it's a little bit calmer, but it's still present. And a little bit of that vanilla bean is coming through. Sides of the tongue, bitter chocolate. Short finish is going to be, in addition to all those other flavors, going to be earth and cedar. And a long finish, to relax with you dudes and ladies, hopefully, chocolate and pepper, right? I hate to keep repeating myself, but that's what I'm getting, chocolate and pepper. Smoke texture is definitely creamier. It keeps getting creamier. You may not see that here again because of the weather, but generally speaking, even given the weather, it's a nice creamy smoke texture. Open draw, perfect straight burn, nice flaky ash. The ash comes off pretty easily, but that's okay because it's burning fine. No issues with the construction, and I would definitely give this medium on the nicotine level. And so for final thoughts, right? So like I told you, I met the guy, and he really has a passion for the trade. He's got a legacy. He's got a young son, 5 or 6 years old. He's still a young guy. I think he's 41. And he's been doing this for 15 years already. And he totally left what he was going to do. He was in medical school or just finished medical school. I'm not sure. But he decided he had a passion for this, right? And he wants to create a legacy. And I think he's well on his way to doing it because he hasn't made a bad cigar yet. He refuses, the guy would rather, tighten the belt buckle instead of the money grab. And I wish more cigar makers were like that. A lot of these boutique cigar brands or blenders, they come up with a brilliant blend, and then they put it out the next year, and it's so we know they're not all the same. Is it box worthy? Yes. And you guys know I'm not a box guy. I would buy a box of these. I can't find them. If you can find them, let me know. I mean, eventually they're going to be available, but I can't find the box. It's, this cigar, so there's the fourth one I smoked. I went through the whole box. And I haven't been disappointed once. And that goes for all the other blends of his that I've tried. So that's about all I've got for you. All right, there might be some sloppy editing going on there. Somebody was walking out into the deck and disturbing me during my video. So I'll try to splice this back in. Anyway, I was finishing saying how it was box worthy and how, he hasn't had any blends that have disappointed me so far. So in closing, I would say, as always, let's find a nice balance of hard work and pleasure, right? Every cigar should be a celebration. If you have one a night, if you have one a week, if you have 3 a week, if you have 2 a night, whatever it is, it should always be like a mini celebration. It's a luxury, but we got to remember to keep that nice balance where we're keeping ourselves fit mentally and physically. We're staying, we're moving around, we're staying healthy, we're taking care of ourselves and our families, and we're doing the right thing. And with all that, I will leave you guys. Peace. Keep your peace.